According to the Oxford English Dictionary, terrorism is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. With this video now flagged, demonetized, etc., let's get into it. Hi, my name's Katie. Welcome to my channel. This is where we discuss true crime, politics, and current affairs. You're joining me for a discussion about current affairs this time. And I have maybe a controversial opinion, maybe not, that Just Stop Oil is a form of a terror group, a form of terrorism. As I said in the opening, the actual definition is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. I would argue that gluing yourself to a public road, preventing civilians from living their everyday lives, would comfortably fit into the definition. So would destroying precious pieces of art and history that can define a culture. Just Stop Oil often use these tactics in their protests. Terror groups in Iraq and Afghanistan have also destroyed irreplaceable art and history. Whilst Just Stop Oil are not as extreme as other terror organisations, they certainly use some of the same tactics. They target civilians to get their voices heard. What all the public sees is a bunch of self-righteous brats who don't see the nuance in the environmental discussion. A child may throw their toys out of their pram, but it doesn't mean the child gets what it wants. Just Stop Oil describes itself as a non-violent civil resistance group demanding the UK government stop licensing all new oil, gas and coal projects. Personally, in my opinion, I'd say that slashing an art piece is quite violent. I personally wouldn't feel safe in that environment. They have said that they accept that their actions do cause disruption. Blocking a public road and preventing people from living their lives, perhaps delaying life-saving treatment, is more than a disruption. It's a disgrace. Just Stop Oil was co-founded by Roger Hallam, not sure how to pronounce that, who is no stranger to controversy. He is reportedly worth between $1.5 and $5 million. Bit of a gap there, but sure. He claims that if the climate crisis isn't addressed, that it will lead to mass starvation, mass rape, mass slaughter, and mass murder. They're definitely going to try and hide this video now. Hallam was also a co-founder of Extinction Rebellion until he belittled the Holocaust as just a normal event, just another human fuckery. This comment caused Extinction Rebellion to disown him, saying that Hallam's views contravene the principles of Extinction Rebellion, which does not tolerate anti-Semitism, and he is no longer welcome. Activists within his groups have said that he is obsessed with being arrested. Whilst preaching his eco-bollocks, Hallam took a 4-month-long trip across Canada, tallying up an estimated 8,500 miles in flights. It was only after that trip around Canada that he branded flying a no-no. So once he's done his bucket list trip, then planes are bad. Hallam has been in court numerous times after being arrested for various public disturbance offences. In his speech at one of his trials, where he was arrogant enough to represent himself, he quoted Martin Luther King and Gandhi in his closing arguments. It makes me wonder if Hallam is narcissistic enough to think he's on par with some of the greatest thinkers and activists of our times. Hallam was found not guilty at this particular trial. But back to my argument that Just Stop Oil is a terror group. They go out of their way to intimidate civilians. They have a controversial guru-type leader in the form of Hallam. In February 2015, the terrorist group ISIS destroyed ancient artifacts at Mosul Museum in some warped belief that they had to erase everything that had existed before Islam. Whilst Just Stop Oil don't have the same warped beliefs, they share similar tactics. Some of the members of Just Stop Oil are naive 20-somethings that have a narrow view of the world. Of course, the climate crisis needs addressing, but gluing yourself to a road won't help that. You can't yell, "Just stop oil," and not offer an alternative. What is the solution according to this group? Wind and solar are definitely options, but they aren't enough to fuel the country all year round. And solar? Have you looked out the window today? I don't think I've seen the sun. It's grey. The infrastructure isn't there for more renewable energy at the moment. Instead of throwing your toys out the pram, do some research and offer some alternatives. Just Stop Oil must have enough eyes on them that if they were to submit options, the government would at least address them. Does Just Stop Oil have solutions for upcoming developing countries, such as India, Nepal, Thailand? Unfortunately, non-renewable sources are a cheap and reliable way for these countries to improve their standards of living, their job opportunities and their freedoms. And let us not forget the millions of people who work in the oil industry. Whilst I am no big fan of the oil companies, I do recognise that the fossil fuel industry is a huge employer across the world. What would happen to the workers and their families? Are there enough jobs for them to walk into? Can Just Stop Oil guarantee that the workers and their families will be okay if the oil industry was to stop? And also, please stop comparing yourself to the suffragettes. Yes, the argument can be made that the suffragettes were nothing more than a terror group, but what they endured for their cause was horrific. When these ladies were imprisoned, some of them went on hunger strike and were force-fed. At the time, healthcare wasn't what it is today. They didn't just have a thin tube stuck up their noses or a drip administered. They had rubber tubes shoved down their throats as they were held down. Women died for this cause. What Just Stop Oil are arguing for, from what I understand, there is no consensus right now in the scientific community. There's one end where it's the world's going to end in 3 days if we don't sort it now. And there's the other end where it's, yeah, carry on, knock yourselves out. There's no problem. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. My uneducated opinion is that we are definitely helping it speed along. And there's nothing wrong with trying to improve the planet. As a species, the human race, we are the only species on the planet of the Earth that is actively trying to destroy the very environment that it relies on to live in. We're stupid, but I understand all of that. But there's no, it's the suffragettes and Just Stop Oil, there's no comparison. You're fighting for different causes that have different ideological values. The suffragettes, because of those, I'm sat here right now talking into a camera, because without them, I would probably have 5 children around my ankles screaming and not be able to do anything. And oh my God, no. And I wouldn't have a say in the policies that affect my life. But because of them, I do. They fought for human rights. Just Stop Oil aren't offering any alternatives to what they're fighting against. So please do not compare yourselves to the suffragettes. You are there is no comparison. You are fighting completely different ideological fights. Stop it. It's frankly quite offensive that you compare yourselves to them. But I'm going to get off that soapbox. The road to being reliant solely on renewable sources is a long one. I doubt it will be achieved in my lifetime. These huge advancements take time. Just Stop Oil needs to see their argument in context. They are the absolute epitome of the "I want it now" generation. That's my rant over for today. I wrote this a while ago and it still makes me angry. If you found this interesting or informative, or you have a completely different opinion, or you share my opinion, or you're somewhere in between, let me know in the comments. Join the conversation. I look forward to it. I do like having discussions in the comment sections below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. Those things are completely free, and the comments are, and it really helps to grow my channel. I really enjoy this, and yeah, thanks for your support already, and subscribe. Bye.